What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle. Tonight, happy Thursday evening, January 23rd. We have the AFC and NFC Conference Championships to look forward to this weekend. I did update my rankings for the week. If you guys are looking for some rankings on the week, it is in the members portion of the website. And yeah, I think we're just gonna pull up some data here and kind of give you guys a game preview for each one. There's some precedents from previous games this season. We can look at both those guys, but I'm going to start just by mentioning the DraftKings spreads and things like that. So both games are on Sunday. Commanders at Philadelphia. Eagles are picked to win by 6. 47.5 implied in this one. And then Buffalo at Kansas City at 5:30. That one is Kansas City by 1.5. And it moved up here to 48.5. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the early game, the NFC Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. How about a round of applause for just Jayden Daniels and Dan Quinn and Terry McLaurin and just this offense really figuring out how to just get better and better and better with each and every game. I mean, this team was blown out by Tampa Bay week 1, and now they're beating Tampa Bay. Now they're blowing out what we had thought was one of the best teams in the NFL in Detroit. And now they're headed to Philadelphia, which would be a nice cap here to get them to the Super Bowl, a pretty epic run, knocking out the 1 and the 2 seed. But let's take a peek here. These two teams obviously play in the NFC East, and we have a few games that these guys have played, starting with this one here where the Commanders lost to the Eagles. The score was 18-26. This one was in Philadelphia. And if we're looking around here, you had a healthy Jalen Hurts. You had Saquon Barkley run for 146 and 2. A.J. Brown was healthy. Devonta Smith was healthy. Not a ton of numbers in the passing game. Like Jalen Hurts was fine, 221 yards. That's probably more than he averages per game. But no passing touchdowns. This was all on the ground. 1 Jalen Hurts touchdown, 2 Saquon Barkley touchdowns. A.J. Brown, 5 for 65. Dallas Goedert's a guy to keep an eye on in this one. He's been having a nice little postseason. 5 for 61 from him. And then I'm seeing no turnovers here on the Eagles side. So pretty good game from the Commanders. Just a clean game, no turnovers. Jalen threw the ball well enough, and Saquon Barkley did the rest. On the Washington side, we do see the one issue with the turnover, and Jayden Daniels kind of struggled to throw the ball. Under 200 passing yards. Austin Eckler was the leading guy, 8 for 89. Zach Ertz, 6 for 47 and a touchdown, a revenge game, whatever. But Terry McLaurin, 1 for 10. That's the big issue here for the Commanders in this game, is they just couldn't get Jayden Daniels hooked up with his receivers. I mean, his top 3 players in this game were Eckler, Ertz, and John Bates. McLaurin caught 1, Olamide caught 1, Noah Brown caught 1, Diami 1, Luke McCaffrey none. So not enough receiver output here. So that's going to be kind of what I'm going to look for in this one as like the big X factor is, can these receivers win against the Eagles cornerbacks? Brian Robinson was fine, almost 4 yards of carry and a touchdown. They ran the ball fine. They just didn't have success throwing the ball. And just the 1 turnover, not too bad of an issue. And if we go back to the game where the Eagles won or the Eagles lost, this game was a fun game. I remember it vividly. 36-33. Washington takes this one home. But it's hard to read into this one because Jalen Hurts did not play the full game. He got hurt early in this one. But Jayden Daniels, he found a way to throw the ball in this game. 5 touchdowns, 258 yards. 81 yards on the ground. The big issue here is they couldn't run the ball. 10 for 24 from B-Rob. No Eckler in this game. But Olamide Zaccheaus, 5 for 70 and 2. McLaurin, 5 for 60 and 1. Diami Brown, 4 for 46. So they kind of figured something out in this game against the Eagles. So we'll watch for that and see if that is sticky or we're going to be somewhere in the middle of these two games. I'm not sure where we're going to land. And then in this game here, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith just had big games because they were really the only guys targeted in this game. And then Saquon Barkley, just another casual 150 and 2 touchdowns. So he's almost got 300 yards rushing and 4 TDs against the Commanders. So we're going to like Saquon Barkley a lot. And then the big question is, can Jayden in that passing offense get it together? If I pull up the practice reports, and again, as I record this, it is Thursday evening here. I'm not sure if we're going to have all the news that we need, but I don't think there's anybody like crazy that's going to be missing these games. So Sam Cosmi, the offensive guard, is going to be out with a torn ACL. A couple backups here. Deron Payne may be questionable. Bobby Wagner is questionable. DNP today. Maybe he practices tomorrow and he's on track to play. But otherwise, offensively, you got Zach Ertz, full practice today. Nothing too crazy here on offense. So we're just going to have to watch for Daron Payne and Bobby Wagner. On the Philadelphia side of things, I think they're in okay shape. Goddard back-to-back DNPs with an ankle injury. I'm assuming they're just giving him rest. He doesn't really need to practice too much, I think, to go. And then we'll watch for Cam Jurgens, the center. That would be a big loss if he can't go. Otherwise, they look fairly in good shape here. So Goddard and Jurgens will watch for those two guys. Now let's take a look here at some of the player props and see how this game might go. Yeah, Saquon Barkley, man, minus 230 to score a touchdown. If you want some low-hanging fruit, I don't know what a $20 unit gets on that, or what you have to bet to make that even, you win $8. So if you want to win a little bit of money, maybe, 40% of your money, what does 100 get you? It gets you about 143. So if you want to bet some money on Saquon Barkley scoring a touchdown, he very likely will hit one from deep. I do like the plus 240 for him to score 2 touchdowns. He's done that in the 2 games already this season. Jalen Hurts minus 120, probably something that would interest me. And then I would like to think it's going to be an AJ Brown game. He didn't play good in the first meeting. He did fine in the second meeting with Kenny Pickett throwing the ball. But we'll watch for AJ Brown. I'd rather bet on him for a touchdown than Devonta Smith. And then passing touchdowns, Terry McLaurin's really the only guy that I'm comfortable, slapping with a prop bet here. If you wanted to do something gross, you could do a Zach Ertz, Diami Brown situation where you bet low on these guys and hope one of them scores to make yourself a good payday. But otherwise, we have some passing props to look at here. Let's see what we got. They're putting Jaden Daniels. Let me scroll on down here. Yeah, they kind of moved all this on me here. Here we go. So passing yards, they have Jaden Daniels at 225, Hurts at 183. So below Hurts' average of 186. Daniels at about 217, 218. I kind of tend to think that the only way Daniels and the Commanders win is if they throw the ball well. And even if the Eagles are playing from a lead, that could lead to more Daniels passing. So if I'm looking at passing numbers, I'll probably take the 225 from Jaden Daniels, even though it is above his average and the Eagles have been pretty good defending the pass. Passing touchdowns here, they have both guys under 1.5 passing touchdowns. I'm probably not going to take that Hurts one, but I think plus 125 for Jaden Daniels. I think he is the path for the best success for the Commanders. So plus 1.5 passing touchdowns intrigues me a little bit. They're giving Jaden an interception. They're not giving Hurts an interception, though, but both these guys don't really throw a lot of interceptions. So for passing numbers, that's kind of where I'm laying. If I look at the receiving stats real quick, we'll scroll on down here to receiving yards. We have nothing major over-unders here so far. So they got Terry under his average of 64.5. Again, he played well in one game of the 2 games. He had 1 catch in the first game, but he played well enough. And I think he's hot enough where he could get they need to make sure he gets his touches. So Terry coming in a couple of yards below average, I think makes sense. Same with AJ Brown. And I know they just haven't been able to get it going, but this is a big game. It's the biggest game of the Eagles season to date. I would like to think AJ Brown gets it going in this one. 12 yards under his season average. Let's go with AJ Brown here. The tight ends, they both have Goddard about 9 yards under his average and Ertz about 4 yards under his average. I think both guys are in play. And then Eckler, I do like Eckler. His season average is about 31 yards per game receiving, and they got him at 24.5. I just think the nature of this game, good pass rush, they're going to have to rely on Austin Eckler. So keep an eye on that one. That's pretty much all I like from receiving yards. If we just look at receptions real quick, this sometimes tells me a story. They're saying heavy unders on Terry McLaurin, receptions 5.5, under AJ Brown 4.5, under Devonta Smith 4.5. They're saying Goddard over 3.5. So that one's interesting. Maybe we like the Dallas Goddard yards. 40.5. If he gets 4 catches, there's a chance that he can get there. Same with Zach Ertz. They're giving him 3.5 over at minus 140 here. So I'm liking the tight ends in this matchup. And then I do like Eckler here, who they're smashing him over minus 170 to get over 2.5. So I do like his yards as well. So that kind of paints the picture as how the ball could be moved. And then the rushing props here. I mean, at this point, Saquon Barkley is he's going to get his damn yards, guys. He's up to 127.5. That's very, very steep. I think at this point you can take it. He's been money on this for quite some time. And then I do think Jaden Daniels is going to be their leading rusher. I don't really care about B-Rob or Austin Eckler props. So those are the two that I would take over. As far as rushing attempts, probably going to go over Saquon Barkley 25. He's going to get as much as he can handle in this final weekend, and if not the Super Bowl. So there you have it. I do think the Eagles are weird because like Saquon Barkley's balling the F out, but they're not really playing well on offense. Like Jalen Hurts and the passing offense still isn't quite clicking on all cylinders. The Commanders, last year they were one of the worst defenses in the league, and they've tightened that up quite a bit. But I just wonder if the Eagles, they've been beating teams with only Saquon Barkley these last few weeks. If they get anything going with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and Goddard in the passing game, that might be too much to handle. I think the Commanders' run comes to an end. Slightly interested, though, in that +6. The Commanders have played them tough in both games here. Again, 26-18. That was at Philly earlier in the year, and then a 36-33 win, but again, against Kenny Pickett, is probably somewhere in the middle here. I think Commanders by +6 is where I will lean. And then let's get into the Buffalo Bills, man. Buffalo at Kansas City, -1.5 for KC, 48.5 implied in this one. If I just pull up the practice reports real quick here, let's see what we're working with. Kansas City's in good shape. They haven't played a lot of football in these last few weeks. Nothing to note here. Everybody's in full practice. Love to see that for Kansas City. Buffalo, they have a lot of guys here, but nothing really too crazy here. Taylor Rapp, safety. Not really seeing anything to note here from the Bills on the practice front. So good shape for both guys here. And then, of course, we do have one game where these teams played each other earlier this year. This game was in Buffalo. Buffalo 30, Kansas City 21. Let's look at the box score and see what happened in this game. Mahomes had a couple interceptions. He was loose with the picks. Under 200 passing yards. He was dinking and dunking a lot. Worthy 4 for 61 and a touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins couldn't get going, 3 for 29. Justin Watson 2 for 26. Noah Gray 4 for 23 and 2 touchdowns. Mecole Hardman played in this game. Travis Kelce 2 for 8. That's pretty crazy. P. Ryan a couple catches. So they just couldn't get anything going downfield here. Very low average depth of reception here for the Chiefs. And then Kareem Hunt was fine, 14 for 60. They ran the ball well. I would expect them to lean on the running game more in this one and try to open up the deep passing game. The Bills, on the other hand, Josh Allen, 12 for 55 as a rusher with a touchdown. James Cook only 9 for 20, but the 2 touchdowns was the big deal. And then the Chiefs just couldn't stop Khalil Shakir, 8 for 70 out of the slot. And Curtis Samuel kind of came through, 5 for 58 and a touchdown. A couple big catches from Amari Cooper. Dawson Knox filled in well for the injured Dalton Kincaid. And then just not a lot of James Cook in this one. 5 catches for 7 yards. Only 20 yards, but he did get the 2 touchdowns. So there's room for improvement here from Buffalo. They threw the ball well, 262 and a touchdown, the 1 Josh Allen interception. They threw the ball well, but they need to run the ball better. On the Chiefs side, they ran the ball well, but they didn't throw the ball good enough. So there's kind of, opposites here in this game. And of course, this game just being in Kansas City, Buffalo, can they get over the hump here? We shall find out. I did want to note here that the Chiefs are one of the worst teams against tight ends still. They rank 29th. They've allowed 5 touchdowns. They've allowed the most yards to receiving tight ends this year, the second most catches. So potentially a good opportunity for, Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid to get involved. So we'll look at some of those numbers here. And then if I just scan some of the other numbers here, we know Kansas City is a good defense and they allow the tight end to score, but they also allow a little bit of quarterback points. And then you have Buffalo here. They allow running back points. So maybe we look at that running game because that's what we mentioned worked well last time. Maybe we look at Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. So let's click into it and kind of do a look around here. Touchdown scorers in this game. I'm taking Josh Allen to score. You could take a James Cook touchdown. I do think Travis Kelce, he only went 2 for 8 in that first game, but I would expect him to be heavily targeted in this one. The guys that I like, though, I think Worthy or Marquise Brown, these are going to be 2 of the big guys to watch here. And if you guys are unfamiliar with how I do my prop bets, which you guys can check out all my prop bets at thefantasyfellowship.com. I post them every week for free. They're usually up sometime, Saturday morning, sometimes Friday nights they're up, but you can check it out. It's under the content tab and you guys can track all the bets. We're at 54, almost 55% on the year, which is solid. We're up. And what we do is whatever your unit is. If it's $5, it's $5. If it's $20, it's $20. I just like to use 20 because if you put a 20 on Worthy to score, and then you also put a $20 unit on Marquise Brown to score, if one of these guys scores, you're still up about $19 if it's Worthy, or you're up $28 if it's Marquise Brown. And if there's any crazy combo where both of these guys score, that's where the big money comes in. So it's kind of like this safe hedge bet. I do think Worthy's going to be, heavily involved in this one. He's their best passing weapon. And then I think Marquise Brown just in the deep passing game could be something to look at. So those are the touchdowns that I'm liking. You could try fishing for one of these Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox tight end touchdowns. That could be kind of fun. If we go over to the passing props, let's see what we got brewing here. All right, so passing yards, they have Mahomes over his season average here. 254.5, not really moving either way, but a good 13 yards above his average. And then Josh Allen, a good 14 yards above his average. I don't really feel strongly either way. I think Allen over because that's kind of low. And then I'm almost kind of leaning towards the under on Mahomes as we like them to run the ball. Passing touchdowns, they're giving Mahomes 2. So that, again, plays into that Kelsey, Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy touchdown. And Worthy also gets the rushing touchdown. So that's kind of interesting. So they do think Mahomes will throw 2. And then they have Josh Allen under. So that's kind of interesting. If you don't take the Josh Allen rushing touchdown, you should be taking this plus 1.5, plus 120 to get 2 touchdowns. So something to look at there. I think both quarterbacks are going to be on full display in this one. Let's look at the receiving numbers real quick. I'm going to scroll on down to the yard. Let's go to the receptions first. I like usually looking at receptions because that paints the picture better. They're saying Kelsey over 6.5. I don't know if I'm buying that. That's a lot. Khalil Shakir under 5.5. He has been pretty good for them this season. And they're hammering Worthy over here. So, we'll look for Worthy here, 4.5. We'll see what his yards are. They're saying James Cook's going to be over 2, Curtis Samuel over 2, Noah Gray over 2. And then they have Pacheco unders, Mac Hollins unders, Samaje Perine unders. So let's see what we got brewing up here. I mean, they got Kelsey going slightly over 6.5. I think I'm kind of interested in his 70 yards. I do like Khalil Shakir's 55.5. I think Worthy's 50 is fine. But we were kind of highlighting the tight ends, saying Buffalo's tight ends can take advantage of this Chiefs defense. They do have Curtis Samuel catching 2 passes, so maybe 15.5 is low enough. James Cook over 2 catches, maybe 13.5 is low enough here. Honestly, I'm not too crazy about some of these receiving numbers here. I do like the Worthy number. I like the Shakir number and probably the Kincaid. Not quite sure if I see a ton of success from the Chiefs passing game. Maybe the receptions is probably the way to go. And then if we let's look at the rushing numbers real quick here from these boys. Yeah, nothing really leaning one way or the other. They have James Cook 10 yards below his season average, and he has been looking good. I think I'm slightly interested there. Josh Allen at about 50. I'm probably taking the over there. They have Kareem Hunt at 36.5, Pacheco at 32.5. If I had to take one, I'm probably taking Kareem Hunt, but I don't love either one. I'll take the Xavier Worthy over 4.5, though. I think that one's kind of fun. And then for rushing attempts, they're giving James Cook 14 carries. So 14, times 4 is going to get you right there, right at the 56. So if he's getting 14 carries, I think he's got a good chance at getting that. Same with Josh Allen. They have him kind of under about 9 rushing attempts, 9 times, 5 yards per carry is going to be 45 to 50 yards. And then, I think the Chiefs want to run the ball. I don't know how successful they can do it. And if Josh Allen comes out and the Bills are scoring early in this game, perhaps that leans towards more Mahomes magic. So I'm taking the Bills in this one. I think I'm going to take that plus 1.5 on Buffalo side. And then I'll also take that. I'll take the +6 on the Commander side. So there's your game previews, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. Enjoy the weekend. After this weekend, we have the weekend of no football and then the Super Bowl. I'm starting to get into the 2025 draft class, which is exciting. And then I have I'm going to start making a bunch of videos just reviewing the 2024 season, looking at how things went for each fantasy offense. And that'll be coming out. I'm out of town this weekend. And then once we get back, we're going to start dropping some more videos and getting you guys ready for 2025. So thank you. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the games. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
got me feeling icy.